Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're stepping into a storm that has been brewing for nearly 2 decades, quietly, secretly, relentlessly, behind the smiles, behind the staged family dinners, behind every carefully edited episode the world thought it understood. For years, we've all watched the Brown family crack. But what you're about to hear isn't just another fracture. This is the collapse. For so long, we, fans, commentators, truth seekers, have seen the signs. Arguments turning into ultimatums. Ultimatums turning into escapes. And escapes turning into a full-blown exodus that left Cody Brown standing alone in the ruins of the empire he built and destroyed with his own hands. But while the old story was falling apart, a new one was quietly rising. A story written not by Cody, not by TLC, not by spin doctors, not by producers, but by the very people who lived it. The Brown children. The generation raised under the unforgiving glare of cameras. The generation who stayed silent because they had to. The generation who is now done being silent. We saw the early sparks, Gwen tearing the family mythology apart on YouTube with surgical precision. Pat-on dropping TikTok bombs that sent shockwaves through the fandom. Maddie, Michael T, and Tony casually revealing truths in Q&As that contradicted everything Cody ever claimed. Each of them testing the waters, each of them dropping crumbs, each of them inching closer to the line. But now, the whispers are turning into roars. And those roars are merging into something Cody Brown cannot outrun. Because according to insiders, sources who have never been wrong, the day Cody is feared for years has finally arrived. The Brown children didn't just speak out. They didn't just film TikToks. They didn't just vent online. They joined forces. Logan, Aspyn, Leon, Maddie, Hunter, Garrison, Gabe, Pat-on, Gwendolyn, Michael T, Isabel, Savannah, and even Dayton, the OG 13. The first 3 wives' children, every single one of them, have reportedly signed a multi-million-dollar, 8-figure book deal with a Big 5 New York publisher. For a joint, no mercy, no filter, no escape, tell-all memoir. Let that settle in your mind. This isn't Gwen's perspective. This isn't one kid ranting. This isn't he said, she said. This is 13 eyewitnesses. 13 lives. 13 angles of the same truth. A unified testimony that Cody Brown cannot twist, cannot discredit, and absolutely cannot survive. The working title? House of Cards. Our Life Inside Sister Wives. And trust me, that title alone is enough to keep Cody awake at night. Because for the first time in his life, Cody has no counterattack. His entire playbook, divide the wives, isolate the kids, discredit the dissenters, is useless. He can call one child bitter. He can call another confused. He can accuse one mother of manipulation. He can spin, lie, posture, cry, deflect. But he cannot explain away 13 voices telling the same story from 13 different corners of the same collapsing house. Logan's memories of the Lehigh financial chaos. Aspyn's recollections of whispered marital fights behind closed doors. Hunter's emotional isolation during military school. Garrison and Gabe's testimonies of abandonment in Flagstaff. Gwendolyn, Isabel, and Truly's trauma throughout the divorce era. Every memory, every wound, every betrayal. When each piece snaps into place, the picture becomes undeniable. Not a victim, not a martyr, not a misunderstood father. A failed patriarch exposed by his own legacy. And the most devastating part? This book is reportedly airtight. Cross-checked, synchronized, verified, a coordinated reckoning. Christine's children bring the emotional devastation. Janelle's bring the rage of abandonment. Mary's bring the pain of being ignored and discarded. And even Robin's older kids, long protected by her and Cody, may hold truths that shatter what little remains of the facade. This isn't a memoir. This is the demolition of a dynasty. And once this book drops, if the rumors are true, Sister Wives as we know it ends. The Brown family mythology ends. Cody's version of reality ends. Because for the first time ever, the truth won't just whisper. It will roar. The story we're diving into now isn't just about betrayal. It's about pain, neglect, and the truth of a father who consistently chose absence over responsibility, leaving scars that run deeper than any viewer could ever imagine. Christine's kids, Aspyn, Melty, Padon, Gwendolyn, Isabel, and Truly, felt the sting every single day. They lived under the weight of a father who spent his time and resources elsewhere, indifferent to the chaos his absence caused. And the emotional core of the story, the part that will haunt readers, is centered on Isabel's surgery, a moment so profoundly selfish that it became the ultimate breaking point, not just for the family, but for the audience who watched helplessly for years. Then we have Janelle's kids, Logan, Madison, Hunter, Garrison, Gabe, and Savannah. They bring fire. They bring the righteous fury of children forced to witness their father's hypocrisy firsthand. Cody demanded respect, but failed at earning a shred of it. They were the ones watching resources funneled into Robin's lavish world while being told to be independent, to work, to survive. The barren wasteland of Coyote Pass stands as a monument to broken promises, mismanaged wealth, and a father who played favorites without consequence. Their chapters will provide hard, fact-based evidence of Cody's hypocrisy, particularly regarding the infamous CO rules that systematically tore the family apart. And finally, there is Mary's child, Leon. Leon's story is quiet, and yet it is devastating. The life of a child standing alone in the shadow of a loveless marriage, seeking approval, craving love, and finding only confusion, judgment, and public condemnation. Leon's perspective will serve as the moral backbone of the book, exposing the ethical collapse of Cody's patriarchal system, where love, authenticity, and identity were all expendable. Together, these 13 voices don't just tell a story, they build a case. They don't air grievances, they present a meticulously constructed indictment of a father, a prophet, a king who utterly failed in every role. The power lies not in one voice, but in the overwhelming chorus of undeniable truth. And now, the part you've been waiting for. The part that will shake the entire TLC universe and cause total panic in that million-dollar Flagstaff home. Through insider channels, we've pieced together what appears to be a leaked table of contents, a blueprint for the book that could destroy the Brown Empire. It is strategic, devastating, and yes, absolutely brilliant. The book opens with a foreword jointly penned by Janelle and Christine. Imagine it. The two mothers who escaped the system finally, one last time, joining forces, not in vengeance, not in anger, but in profound sorrow and regret. This section is being called A Mother's Apology. No attacks on Cody. Instead, a gut-wrenching acknowledgement of their part in a system that hurt the children they loved most. A radical act of truth-telling and accountability, setting the tone for what's to come. Then the chapters begin. Chapter 1. The Lehigh Lie, What We Weren't Allowed to Say, by Logan and Aspyn. For 18 seasons, the family's flight from Utah was framed as a dramatic escape from polygamy prosecution. But the truth? Far more damning. Crippling debt, failed business ventures, financial chaos, or maybe a fractured relationship with the AUB Church and a desperate bid for fame and survival. This chapter is expected to pull the rug out from the very first episode, rewriting the origin story of the series itself. Fast forward to Chapter 8, The Vegas Cul-de-sac, How Four Walls Broke a Family, by Madison and Melty. The golden era of Las Vegas? A lie. For houses, backyard parties, and a facade of unity masked silent tension, jealousy, and competition. Robin's larger home became an island for Cody, a refuge away from responsibility, while the other families became satellites, ignored, marginalized, invisible. For walls weren't a paradise. They were the beginning of emotional severance, of a family fractured by distance and deceit. And finally, the chapter fans have been dying to see. Chapter 9, The Nanny Diaries, The Truth About Robin's Rules. The most infuriating, revealing, and explosive revelations in Sister Wives history. The rules, the favoritism, the manipulation, all coming to light in a chapter that will make the entire fanbase rethink everything they thought they knew about this family. This isn't just a book. This isn't just a memoir. It's the demolition of an empire, the exposure of a patriarch, and the truth finally breaking free from decades of silence. Now we're entering the chapters that will cut deepest, exposing not just lies, but betrayal in its most intimate, corrosive form. The first explosive chapter we need to talk about is being authored by the fearlessly outspoken Gwenlyn. Gwen has already given fans glimpses of her truth online, but the book? This will be a deep dive, no-holds-barred exposé. It will finally answer the haunting question Cody screamed into the void years ago. What does the nanny do? Gwen's chapter will detail every CO-19 rule, every draconian protocol, every arbitrary restriction imposed on Christine and Janelle's households. From wiping down mail to changing clothes after shopping trips, while Robin's house ran on total impunity, friends, relatives, and yes, the nanny, moving freely without consequence. But this isn't just about rules, it's about control. Gwen will reveal how Robin used a global pandemic to finally isolate Cody from the rest of his family, achieving a decade-long goal under the guise of safety. A masterclass in manipulation. A decade of favoritism laid bare for the world to see. Next comes the financial heart of the family's betrayal, Chapter T. Coyote Passed Over, Financial Betrayal on the Mountain, by Garrison and Gabe. Coyote Pass, meant to be the family's promised land, became instead a monument to deception. Funds from the sale of 4 Las Vegas homes, millions of dollars, didn't go to building a shared legacy. They went to securing $1 million fortress for Robin and her children, while Garrison and Gabe were told to be independent and left to struggle. This chapter is expected to be a forensic accounting of abuse, financial manipulation, gaslighting, and favoritism all exposed in excruciating detail. It's proof that Cody's one-pot family finances were nothing more than a slush fund for Robin, and that betrayal runs far deeper than viewers ever suspected. And then comes the chapter that will break hearts. Chapter 15. The Surgery That Severed a Family, told by Isabel herself. This will be the most emotionally shattering moment in the book. Isabel, suffering from severe scoliosis, recounts the failed conservative treatments, daily agony, and desperate need for life-altering surgery. And her father? The man who was supposed to protect her refused to break his precious self-serving COVID rules to be by her side. 6 weeks of terrifying isolation. 6 weeks of abandonment. A daughter's love shattered. A father exposed as selfish, cowardly, and irredeemable. Finally, the book will conclude with a transcendent afterword by Leon, breaking the generational curse. Leon's journey, navigating identity, freedom, and authenticity outside the rigid confines of Cody's patriarchal rules, will close the book with hope, liberation, and radical truth. It's a message not of revenge, but of survival. A defiant statement that freedom is possible even after decades of control, judgment, and oppression. And let's be clear, the real power of this book isn't just in its outline or chapter titles. It's in the full, unfiltered accounts. Every story, every memory, every interaction, the complete 360-degree view of Cody's rage and manipulation. Logan and Aspyn will describe a volatile, younger Cody, raging over plumbing or trivial mishaps, roaring like an animal, hammer and wrench flying through the kitchen. Aspyn will recount the screaming matches, slammed doors, and the fear that haunted the older kids, trying desperately to shield the younger ones. Madison and Michael T. will describe psychological manipulation, where anger becomes a weapon, loyalty enforced through humiliation, and any perceived slight punished without mercy. Gabe and Garrison will recount verbal abuse beyond anything televised, being called lazy, ungrateful, disloyal, berated for emotions, even controlled in moments of heartbreak. This book will recontextualize everything we thought we knew. Those on-camera arguments, the tip of a terrifying iceberg. The family drama, a constant exercise in surviving an unpredictable, volatile, and frightening patriarch. And then there's Robin's financial manipulation. Garrison and Gabe's chapter just scratches the surface. From the moment Robin and her children entered the family, they were immediately positioned to benefit, while the other children labored, contributed, and were financially denied, building a stark, undeniable narrative of favoritism, inequity, and betrayal. This isn't just a book. It's a decade-long exposé, a dynasty-ending revelation. And it's coming from the people who lived it. Now we enter the part of the story that will expose the financial and emotional core of the Brown family's betrayal. Madison and Michael T's chapter on the Vegas years could reveal, in excruciating detail, how Robin's lavish rental mansion put an immediate and crushing strain on the budgets of the other 3 households. Teenage eyes saw every injustice. Mothers told to cut back, tighten their belts, be frugal, while Robin had what seemed like a blank check. A fabricated but plausible passage from Michael T. might read, "I remember one Christmas. Mom, Christine, was stressed, trying to figure out how to afford gifts for all of us." Later that week, we went to Robin's house and saw a brand new top-of-the-line entertainment system.
Dad just beamed.
"We need a good space for the whole family to watch movies together," he said. But we rarely watched movies there. We all knew the truth. The book will almost certainly answer the decades-old mystery of Robin's pre-marriage debt, particularly the massive balance owed to Victoria's Secret. A running joke for fans, but a real source of tension inside the family. Sources suggest the book will allege that the family pot, intended for all 18 children, was systematically drained to pay off Robin's debts and fund her and Cody's extravagant lifestyle, including lavish honeymoons and frequent dates. Robin would emerge as the architect of a slow-motion financial coup, Cody as her willing co-conspirator, funding his new life with his favorite wife at the expense of the 13 children he already had. The Flagstaff era amplifies the betrayal. Month by month, the children will contrast Christine and Janelle's cramped rentals with the sprawling estate Cody and Robin purchased for nearly $1 million. From Gab's chapter, Dad sat us down and told us we all had to make sacrifices for the good of the family. Building Coyote Pass was the priority. A few weeks later, my mom is in a tiny rental, Christine in a house that barely fits her kids, and Dad and Robin bought a mansion with a 5-car garage. When we asked how that was a sacrifice, he got angry. He said it was an investment for the family. We were old enough to know what that meant. The court of public opinion would be the ultimate judge. Cody and Robin exposed as grifters exploiting the concept of a plural family for personal gain. And then there's the foundational lie. The reason they fled Utah. Logan and Aspyn's chapter could unlock the entire show's facade. The narrative of fleeing persecution built sister-wives' moral bedrock. Underdogs, heroes, martyrs. If that story was fabricated, the entire show is a carefully constructed fraud. The book could reveal financial mismanagement, questionable business practices, and fleeing creditors, all offset by a massive TLC contract. Fleeing wasn't about persecution, it was about a fresh start funded by a network. Even more explosively, the book could allege an internal church conflict. Cody presented himself as a devout leader, but whispers suggest he was rejected, excommunicated, or forced out for seeking fame over spiritual commitments. If true, the family we met in season 1 wasn't heroic. They were running from failure, debt, and rejection. Every season of Sister Wives becomes PR theater, a facade controlled by Cody and Robin. Imagine the press release hits. People magazine, Entertainment Tonight, the frenzy explodes. Cody and Robin's fortress of solitude in Flagstaff trembles. For 18 seasons, they curated their image from the comfort of that brown couch. Their throne, their stage, their shield. Cody, the beleaguered patriarch. Robin, the sweet, misunderstood wife. But the shield is shattered. For Cody, it's narcissistic collapse. Volcanic rage. Screaming matches. Pacing like a caged animal. He screams at the ceiling. How could they do this to me? No self-reflection.
No accountability.
Only fury. For Robin, it's strategic panic. The empire she built with Cody, isolating him, controlling finances, establishing herself as primary wife, is threatened. Her reaction is calculated, cold, and ruthless. Lawyers on speed dial. TLC contract under siege. She sees the existential threat. For Cody, it's ego. For Robin, it's empire. And Solomon and Ariella, the youngest victims. Raised isolated, in a quasi-monogamous world, far from the OG-13. This book would cement the schism. Older siblings free, youngest siblings manipulated, alienated, and left to navigate a fractured legacy. Ultimately, this book is the end of an era. It's a verdict delivered not by critics, but by a jury of 13 children. Cody's reign as a reality TV patriarch ends, not by the network, but by those he failed most. His legacy? Not charisma, but a failed father exposed by his own children. The book is coming. The stories are about to be told. The final chapter of Sister Wives will be written by the people who paid the highest price. So now I turn it over to you, the Sister Wives community. When the OG-13 finally answer everything, what's the #1 question you want them to answer once and for all? Drop your question in the comments below.